Everybody, thank you for popping into another episode of the WASD and Beyond podcast. Before we start the show, I'd like to give a quick shout out to our sponsors, Final Boss and LONGY. By supporting them, you directly support us. Final Boss has his Doomslayer 3.0 drop right now. LONGY actually coming back soon. So be sure to check them out. And thank you for supporting us. It means the world to us. It really, really does. If you really enjoyed the show, we would love for you to please rate us, review us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, wherever you listen to the show. We're hoping to make more content, and we're really hoping to bring more Spawn Camp stuff to you guys. Check out WASD and Beyond, which is what you're listening to now. Check out Roll for Deception, which is Brody and Nick's show, all about D&D and the campaign they've created. I'll be streaming more on the Spawn Camp Twitch and YouTube, I think. Play some Half-Life, Helldivers, whatever we can play, we're going to be playing. We're going to be trying to make a lot more content and really push this year. Enjoy our episode on Dune. Also, please check out Noah. He created the art and the thumbnail and the poster for this episode. Noah's awesome. Check out Play Labs and Lab Notes that Evan is on now. And yeah, thank you guys all for your support. Much love and appreciation from everybody at the Spawn Camp to you guys. Thank you very much. If I was at a bar and I was drunk and you were like, dude, I would hit you. I think I would have to hit you because that make me mad.
Like, how did you get a shirt written in Simlish?
Right.
Yeah.
Let's go to Gusleen. We'll get you nice and liquored up, and then I'll put the shirt on in the bathroom and walk out and see what you do.
What was our?
But Nick would go around the bar and he'd be like, "You gotta look at my guy's shirt."
Depends how drunk I get. Definitely depends
He's
how
walking
drunk.
around like he'd be walking around like Tony Soprano. He's like, "Come take a look at this."
How hard am I breathing at that point, though?
Yeah.
Oh, you're breathing pretty hard, brother.
Just fucking doing my best to fucking breathe, and it's like, no. Oh my
He's sweating.
God. Oh my God. Well,
I say, Nick, you're sweating.
Oh, oh yeah, you're sweating. What's that from?
It's American Psycho.
Yeah, Patrick, you're sweating.
Patrick, you're
Don't touch
sweating.
the watch.
Oh my God. Well,
Your compliment was sufficient, Lewis.
Oh, man. Well, that's not what we're talking about today. But
No.
Welcome everybody back to another episode of the WASD and Beyond podcast. I'm your host Nick. With me this week I got Noah and Evan. Yes, right into the episode. They're going to be hearing all of what I'm going to expertly cut out.
In.
I'm keeping some of it. I'm going to expertly cut out. I'm doing new things on the show. I'm just hitting record when I want, and then letting it all flow naturally until I break the fourth wall by talking right now about how I'm trying to make it all sound natural. You know what I mean? Pretty good.
You're a few layers deep.
I'm feeling like that shirt.
I'm a professional. Yeah. One would say
your prescience is taking over here.
I'm a 4-year podcasting veteran, and I don't need any of
You
this.
are.
From my
Thank you for your
basement.
service.
You know what? Salute.
That's right.
So this episode is obviously different. We don't have Brody. It's just Noah, Evan, and myself. And this is going to be a pretty big episode, I would say. It's going to be an hour long. We're cutting it an hour. We're going to try our best to cut it an hour because this episode could go on for very long. It could be a last man standing thing. Noah, Evan, and myself saw Dune Part 2. And if you don't know, at least Noah and myself are huge Dune fans.
That's right.
Big rude Duners, as the big guys themselves, Holden McNeely and Henry Zabrowski of Last Podcast Network fame, have claimed us all. If you're a Dune fan, you're a rude Duner. We are two big rude Duners.
Big time, big rude Duner.
I had to make sure that people know that's not my phrase; it's their phrase.
How do I?
You don't want to.
Duner? What's the process?
You have to read Dune, or you have to get into it, buddy.
I have to read them. Okay.
I would say you just have to read the first book.
Messiah.
Or you can listen to it, because I listened to it. I didn't read it because I can't read. But you have to at least consume the first book in some way. However you got to do, you just got to get it in there.
Got to get through
however
it.
you got to do that.
Gonna send Noah a video of me peeling apart pieces of paper on a plate.
Oh my God. Eating him one bit at a time.
You got to do it, man. You got to transmute the words of Frank Herbert.
Here's the thing.
Well, turn it into spice.
Here's the thing with Frank Herbert. The way he writes sometimes is very difficult to get through. It's all master.
How so?
dude, because one
He
chapter,
gets distracted.
dude, he is all over the
Does
fucking
he just
place.
go off on tangents? Okay.
In
Yeah.
God
That's
Emperor,
cool.
there's like a whole thing about Leto 2's does he have a dick or not, and it's like this whole fucking thing. But I mean, after you get done with Children of Dune, that's the main trilogy right there.
And
Children,
then
yeah.
after you read that, you can watch the 2003
Sci-fi,
sci-fi
dude.
series with
Oh, wow,
James
yeah.
McAvoy. He's back, oh boy.
Yeah, buddy.
Oh, nice.
So you had Dune, which was the first Dune was made by someone help me.
David Lynch.
David
Lynch.
David Lynch,
so you had
yeah.
David Lynch's Dune. Before
Yep.
that, we almost had Jodorowsky's Dune. After David Lynch's Dune, we had the Sci-Fi 2000 Dune, and now we have Denis Villeneuve's Dune. His magnum opus. I mean, the first movie when it came out during COVID times, I didn't get to go see it in theaters. Did you? I know you didn't, Evan.
I did.
I did not.
Noah,
Yeah.
you saw it in theaters.
I went and saw it in theaters. I saw it in the same theater that we saw part 2 in.
Okay.
And it was like there was like almost nobody there.
That's beautiful. I wish.
Oh, wow. That would have been so sick.
I mean, one of the coolest things about seeing part 2, though, with you guys especially, because I went with 2 of my closest friends and all that, was like being in that crowd. But I almost wish the theater was just ours.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because
Mostly so you could like scream at the screen.
oh
Yeah, there were a couple times where I could see Nick. He would do that. He does that thing where he makes one hand a fist and then
Yeah.
claps it into the other hand.
there were
He's like, yes, that's it. It's like, yeah, dude, I love that he's getting excited.
there was a few points in the film when because I sat next to Noah and Evan was on the opposite side of Noah, and Noah would be sitting there, I'd just like fucking torque my arm at him.
He
Yeah.
nudged me more than a few times. And I was like, all right, man, I see it. It's
Dude,
fucking,
yeah,
man,
I
it's
see it.
happening.
The one time I did, I went, oh, and you were like, yeah, and I'm like, I hit him way too fucking hard. And I
No,
should
you're fine.
like, but
I
man,
just remember you leaning over to the people who were to the left of you, and you were like, "I'll be quiet once the movie starts. Don't worry."
should we
I love that.
should we get the bolt thrower thing out of the way right now before we actually talk about Dune?
I was curious if you were gonna bring that up. If you were gonna bring up the
The bolt thrower
incident.
T-shirt.
Man,
I
okay.
was
Incident.
confused there.
There was a guy wearing a shirt, and it was a bolt thrower shirt, and I liked the band Bolt Thrower because they're fucking very heavily into Warhammer, and all their shit is very seeped into Warhammer. And I looked at him before the movie started. I went, "Hey man, like your bolt thrower shirt?" No response. Okay,
That was after the movie, dude.
No,
That was after the movie.
I did
was
it twice.
after.
Oh,
So you did it twice?
yeah.
I don't remember you doing it the first time.
I don't remember the first time. I do remember the second time was worse because it was just us
was
having
quiet.
to watch that interaction.
It was quiet,
It
and I
was
was
dead
loud enough for him to hear me.
It's worse because everybody saw it.
Yeah, people
Yeah.
around me were probably like, fucking. I was like, "Hey man, like your bolt thrower shirt," and I was like, "All right, fuck me, I guess." And I said that loud too, and I was like, "Well, let's
Yeah.
go. It's time to fucking go."
Nick
man.
felt 1,000 fingers pointing at him like, ha ha, he ignored you.
Yeah.
It's second. I could feel the embarrassment of myself radiating through the theater at that point, where it's like, you don't even know that dude, and he just fucking said, "Nope, not interacting with
You
that
feel
guy."
because you feel like it's a dominance thing.
Mm.
Like he
I
heard
have
you,
the cool shirt,
and
you
he
don't.
said, "I'm not even going to turn around." He said, "I know you're a fan of this. I'm not going to give you that satisfaction."
We all looked a little. I mean, I looked at him
God.
to see if he reacted, and I saw just nothing, and I was like, oh,
Straight
that
ahead of
sucks.
the screen.
I
It was
like,
it was
I know what
credits.
that's
Hurts.
like, man. Yeah,
It was
that's a
credits. There
bummer.
was nothing happening. It was just the credits, and he was like, "I'm not interacting with that short, fat, loud man. I'm not doing it." And I was like, "All right, very good." Let's get into Dune though.
Oh,
So
man.
Dune Part 2 picks right up with Paul being with the Fremen. I don't think we need to necessarily. I don't know.
I don't think we need to recap part 1.
No, not at all. So I mean, but that's
I think
yeah. Go on.
I think if you haven't seen it, then you'll be probably confused at this. But if you've seen part 1, then this just starts right as part 1 ends.
Yeah. I mean, it just kicks right off, though. That's the coolest shit, man. The movie kicks right off into just this insane action. I mean, you start with their Sardaukar, Evan. It's not Leto 2 talking in the movie. He tried telling me this.
You thought it was Leto? You thought it was
this
Leto
motherfucker
2?
tried telling me people on the internet are saying it's Leto 2 talking in the fucking movie. I'm like, that's not Leto 2.
Because people on the internet, somebody speculated that they were like the beginning voice that you hear before the Warner Brothers like clip that plays. Like when
Yeah.
that voice talks, they were like, what if that is somebody else?
It's not.
Like that's not the
I,
Sardaukar.
Not Leto 2.
that's
I'm only
very
saying
unlikely.
I think it's sure it's probably unlikely, but I don't understand why the Sardaukar would say it. Like, but that's also I don't get it
That's
because
that.
if you
No.
listen, I'm just saying if you think of it from a movie perspective, which I've only seen those, I haven't read the books. The Sardaukar are basically these elite troops,
They're the
right?
Emperor's.
So it's like
Yeah.
yeah, they're the
They're his
emperor's like
bodyguards,
elite of the
basically.
elite. Yeah. And so it just to me it doesn't make sense how that they specifically tie into what they say. Like cuz you have to pay attention to those words. Like so it's not like, I don't know. I'm not agreeing with that person.
I
I
get what
just
you're
brought it
saying.
up.
I
I
get what
brought
you're
it up to
saying.
Nick and Nick was like, "What do you think?" I was like, "Brother."
I fucking got mad. I'm like, that's not Leto 2. There's no
I
way
was
we're
like,
gonna
"Brother, I
skip.
don't know anything
There's no
about
way
this."
we're gonna fucking skip all the way to fucking God
But
Emperor
it's not
Children.
impossible, but that would be incredible forethought.
It would. I agree with that. If they're trying to go for this whole thing where it's like, we'll talk about Aaliyah and all that in a minute.
What if it was him?
Then I
And
guess
like
I
you
owe you
noted,
50
like you
bucks.
found. No. I don't need. I don't need any money. I'm just saying, like, if it turns out to be that in 3, or sorry, Messiah, like, how would you feel knowing that like it was planned this whole time? I guess is more of what I mean.
I would feel cheated because he said he's not doing 4 through 6
Yeah, he does not. He, as far as I can tell, it doesn't seem
or
like they
3
really
through
want to go
6. He's not doing 3 through 6.
further.
He's done at
Like, it doesn't seem
Messiah.
like they want to go further.
He said
than
he
Messiah.
only wants to do the third one because it'll in his the way he said it, it was like he feels like that would be a good place to just like put a pin into Paul's story and just you can end it there.
So Dune Messiah is Frank Herbert's double down on the series, basically book wise. So you had Dune
Yeah.
come out, and it's the story. It's a cautionary tale of like if you could be a Messiah, like it will go wrong. It will go wrong. Like the Luke Skywalker thing and the Superman, it will always go wrong. It's a cautionary tale. Um, and people didn't get it right off the bat. So Messiah was his double down on that. Like, hey, no, look, Paul has now done this, and that, and now he hates he's hated it since it's become a thing. It's a whole fucking thing. Messiah's gonna take people and flip him up. This movie took people, I think, and flipped them upside down a little bit too. But Messiah's gonna come and go, oh yeah, check this person out. Here's a Gola. Here's more Mentats. Here's the Twi'lexu.
Yeah,
Here's Space Guild
the Space
Navigator.
Guild. Yeah.
Like here's all of this shit. But before, which I do want to touch on all that, but we should probably touch on Dune Part 2. So yeah, no, the movie starts out fucking wild, and you see sand snorkels. Right, I didn't think he was doing sand snorkels.
I don't think it was like too crazy.
It was
of
simple
a concept. Like,
No,
of course
but-
they would, because you see them in the other movie, in the first movie, where they're like completely buried.
Oh
And
yeah,
it sort of
that's
answers
true.
that
Yeah, you do
question,
see
like,
that.
well, wouldn't they suffocate if they were completely buried? But you do see the snorkels, and in this, it looked like they're just like attached like a regular snorkel.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
like I don't know, I don't think that was so far fetched. But I like seeing it, like they show it has like a diaphragm on it. It's like
Yep.
it's like it like expands and contracts as you're breathing, which
Yeah,
is
that
probably
was really
some
cool.
everything in this movie. The thing that he does so well is like he makes everything look believable. Like everything has a reason. Like we get like in this one, you get a really close look at the spice harvester,
yes.
and it's got
Yeah.
these little tendrils that like poke at the ground. I don't know if they're just like agitating the sand and like getting the spice up and out of the sand or what they're doing, but it sort of explains why a worm always comes to a spice harvester.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
There-
of that rhythmic noise that
Yep.
it's making, right? I mean, like,
Yeah.
that's exactly why they don't like they have the thumpers. It's a
Yeah.
rhythmic sound, which I like
to pull the
those too.
worms. Yeah, and that's why they
Mhm.
also do the fucking sand walk too, because you need to move like a worm would move through the sand, right? So they do their silly walk through the desert, and it's supposed to make the worms just fuck off. Which so in part 1, I was like, okay, how's a sand walk gonna look on screen?
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? Like for a minute there, I was like, how's the sand walk gonna look? And then they did. I'm like, Okay, I don't hate that. In this, you see a lot more Sandwalk, and I was like, okay, this is I
They
like
per-
this.
they help perfect Paul's walk a bit. Like I noticed that in the end of the first movie when he starts doing it, or not the end, but when they show him in the first movie, where he does still have a bit of a rhythm to it,
Yeah.
and that's what Chani says in this one of like you need to break up your rhythm more. You're not doing
Mhm.
it enough. Specifically with the start, I'm surprised you did not bring up the Sardaukar flying.
Oh,
Uh,
dude, that
Oh yeah, yeah.
what's
that
that?
was
What's
like
what's that
a
device called?
highlight for me.
It's a specific device. So that device has a name. Fuck, I don't
Yeah,
remember.
because
It's
it's
like
not
a
like a
suspense.
jetpack.
It's a suspensor belt.
Yeah, but it has a specific name
Okay.
to it. But that's how they when you see this art car floating around and like slowly coming down, it's a device they have on them, and it has a really fucking goofy ass name. If you look it up, I'm sure you could find it. But it's awesome, dude. Like all like when they're going up the sand like that at that
Mhm.
angle, I'm like, dude, that looks fucking insane. Like this movie, what it did phenomenally right off opening the gate of this movie, what it did phenomenally was show the scope and the scale and just like how grand Arrakis and the story of Dune is to really finish this book off. And it starts out wonderfully, man, and I loved every fucking second of it. It was a wild ride to see in theaters. I would oh, did you find it?
I couldn't find. I cannot find
It
this name.
it, it
I'm sorry.
has
I'm looking.
it has a specific name, but
Uh,
the movie is fucking wild. Noah, so I want to go thought by thought on this fucking movie. Thought by thought, not thought
Okay.
by thought. Noah, I want you to start this
thank you for
off if you
confirming.
would like to.
Uh-huh. Yeah, like how do you mean? Like going down like with the story and stuff?
Yeah, if you, yeah, however you want to hit it, like just the story through the fucking like how you felt on the movie and everything.
I mean, so what I was saying, um, when I was talking to Brooke about it, what I was saying is like that movie, like I went home and that movie haunted me in the
Yes.
best way for like days. And it was one part like just the vibe and the general like look of Arrakis and the way that the characters interact, but like for me personally the music was a big part of it. I There's this like musical idea that happens throughout the whole movie, and if you listen to like the tracks on the soundtrack, it's all over the place, and something about it just hit like the vibe of it
Yeah.
so perfectly because it's like kind of like eerie, and that's sort of the vibe you get from the story as well with Paul. Like a big part of the story is him and Jessica sort of working against each other for a while until he sort of succumbs to what she's trying to do. Because when it starts with them, Paul and Jessica, and the Fremen uh, taking Jamis's body back to the siege, and the whole time on the way there, Jessica's like, she's like going to Paul. She's like, you know what we got to do when we get there? Like we gotta get these people. We gotta get this done. And Paul's like, I'm not fucking doing that. We're
Yeah.
not. I'm not
Yeah,
gonna
he's like,
be
"What are you
part. Like I'm
crazy?"
not gonna be your figurehead. I'm not gonna be your Kwisatz Haderach. It's not happening. It's like
Yeah.
all of this is because of you people. You did this. So and a lot of that like reluctance to follow the plan is explored throughout the movie with them too. I mean, I think, and I've heard this said that people are saying like Jessica's like the villain almost
Yeah.
in a way, but I think it's more of like just competing interests.
I've heard a lot of people saying that she's the antagonist. I don't in the books at least she is not the antagonist, right? Like Lady Jessica is definitely not the antagonist in the books. If anything, she actually
Despite everybody
fears.
thinking she is.
Yeah, despite everyone thinking she actually fears Paul after he
Mm-hmm.
awakens when the sleeper awakens and all that. Like she fears him. Like oh shit, this thing that we've created, right? Like we did it, and you do see that a lot in this movie. Then, but you also see her going like when they're at the Sietch and the water of life is presented, right? And they're she's like, there's going to be a man coming here who's going to ask you
Mm-hmm.
to take the water of life, and the Fremen woman goes, no, men can't, because men can't do that. You can't. It's for women, and if you're pregnant, they will not like You cannot do that. It'll kill the baby. But obviously, Lady Jessica, being Bene Gesserit, knows how to, fucking transmutate the poison within herself. And Aaliyah knows how to do so as well because she's Lady Jessica's fucking kid. But that also makes Aaliyah Abomination. There's a whole fucking thing. It's a whole fucking thing. But like shit like that, like Jessica pushing for that, and like there's a lot of push pull between them. But for this movie, it works. For the books, it's a bit different. There's a lot of things that are a bit different in the books, but the way that it's written in this movie is very, it's palatable, and I think it needed to be done, because if you would have kept a lot of like, I don't think, in all honesty, if after there's spoilers in this whole thing,
Oh, it's too late. We've
Okay.
crossed
Yeah,
that
we've
line.
talked. Yeah, we've touched some things
during
already. So.
during the fucking plug for everything, I'm gonna when I record the advertisements stuff, I'm gonna
You're just gonna give a spoiler warning.
yeah, I'm gonna be like, warning. But during the whole spice agony thing in the book, when Jessica goes through spice agony, when she takes the water of life, that induces her to have Aaliyah, if I'm not mistaken. Like Aaliyah is born from that.
Yeah, in the book and in the 84 version, she's further along than she was in this one. So in that, it triggers her premature birth, but in this one, she's only like a few weeks pregnant.
Yeah.
And like a big part of it, I feel like there's a couple times where this movie's tone changes pretty dramatically.
Yeah.
And one of them is when Jessica takes the water of life. And that's sort of when Aaliyah awakens.
Yeah.
And like right after that, you remember like she goes to Paul and she's like, this is fucked. Like Aaliyah's talking to me right now. Like this is bad.
They made Aaliyah the antagonist, like an antagonistic little fetus, and I'm like,
yeah,
it works because, like, again, in the books, Aaliyah, there's a time jump too. In Dune 1 in the book, there's a time jump. It's a 2-year gap, and Aaliyah is 2 years old, and she is talking like a grown ass woman. She's already Bene Gesserit. She's Abomination.
Not only that, but she has all the powers and abilities of a Reverend Mother.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like Aaliyah is already fucking like wackadoo, and I think if audience had seen a 2-year-old walking around, fucking using the voice and just being like, "No, you're a bitch, and you're gonna listen to me," people would be like, "It's a 2-year-old, right? What? Like, just kick it in the fucking head." But like,
it's also from a movie perspective, making one, that's a lot harder to make look believable, right? Having you CGI someone doing it, or you like find two babies that can, two 2-year-olds that could really sell it. And
my son can't wipe his ass.
I was gonna say it would probably be a lot easier for Denis to just do some sort of in-camera thing, and then
Well, when you mentioned that, it makes me think that part of the change with Aaliyah may have been from a practicality standpoint, because like I mentioned, like he likes to make everything look as practical as possible.
Yeah.
Like it would make sense that for it to be real, and that would just be too fantastical, like to have that next to all these things that appear to make sense.
Yeah.
He has a great sense of what audiences will go as far to believe, and knows when to stop, right? He knows when, all right, that just doesn't make sense. Like Nick, you've talked about a cat scene.
That's from the movie. That's from David Lynch's film.
That's a great scene from David Lynch's Dune.
Thufir milks a cat.
Yeah, right. But you know what I mean? Like Denis knows, like, nobody's gonna believe that if I throw this in with everything else I've done.
So
like,
in the books, Hyder dies the same way as that he dies in the first movie, right? So that's the Baron's Mentat. Like, he's dead. So in the books, and there are scenes that were cut from the movie, which fucking kills me, where Thufir is with the Harkonnens, and he's tortured. He's fucking treated like shit. They want him to give up his face. It's a whole thing. The whole fucking thing. They cut it from the movie. It's fine. It is what it is. So, like, tonally, like you were saying, though, Noah, there are tonal shifts throughout the entire fucking thing that I fucking like, especially with Lady Jessica and Paul's dynamic they got. But, like, what did you think of him and Chani, then? Because there was a whole lot of things happening with him and Chani as well.
Dude, I got thoughts about Chani in this. I think watching the first one, I was like, I'm excited for the second one because I'm excited because Chani has a pretty big role in this, despite there not being a lot of dialogue with her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because a big part of it is their relationship, which I feel like gets completely sidelined at the end. Because in this one, it's not necessarily how it was in the books. Where in this one, the Fremen camp they go to is sort of split between people who believe in the Bene Gesserit prophecy and people who don't. And Chani is very firmly on the side of people who don't.
Yeah.
But over time, she kind of starts to see these these like parts of the prophecy coming true in Paul as their relationship is growing, and she like it seems like she's very conflicted about it. But she's like somewhat responsible for them because she's teaching him the way the Fremen do things,
Yeah.
which is causing these steps in the prophecy to keep coming
Further
true.
along. Yeah.
Right.
And then like I don't want to get too far into the end, but at the end she's basically like after everything she sees and she like has to get Paul out of the spice agony, and then at the end she's just like, actually I'm not cool with this, I'm gonna go.
Dude, and which is a total
I'm gonna bow out.
and again
I'm gonna head out.
and again with how he Denis has already said for Messiah it's pretty much already written. He just give him some time. I'm curious where they're going to take that. We'll get to that closer to the end of the discussion. I want to say review, but this is more of a discussion. We'll give our thoughts, or we'll give it a score at the end. I'm sure everyone already knows what that's going to be. But like, I'm curious where he's going to take that aspect of their relationship, because in the books at this point in time, they already had a son. Leto 1 was born and killed. So, which later on you get Leto 2 and Ganima. That's her name. I know at the end of the movie I was like, Gamora?
Gamora?
It's
Why is
Ganima.
Gamora?
It's Ganima. That's the other that's the twin. That's Ganima and Leto 2.
Yeah.
So I'm curious how far he's gonna take that in Messiah. But I did I see I am conflicted with the whole Chani thing as well. There's a lot there with Chani. Chani's a huge part of Paul's journey. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I will say also Zendaya might have been the perfect cast for this.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I
think
agree
she
100%.
crushed in this. And I was saying I was excited to see her in the second one because the only other movies I've seen her in being like the Spider-Man movies, she like doesn't really have that much to do.
Yeah.
But in this, like she was really she had like a big presence in this.
It's either Spider-Man or Euphoria, and then Euphoria, all she do is overdosing.
I haven't watched Euphoria.
She's just sitting there dying. Like Jesus Christ.
I was gonna make a reference to something that happens in the movie, but I'll wait because we haven't touched on that yet.
Yeah.
I gotta say I love the whole like I think I was saying it to you, Nick, or maybe I was just talking about it to myself, but there was like a thing I was enjoying about the movie of like, and furthermore the books, where you're reading / watching a prophecy play out, and like it was interesting to see because you and Noah know how this happens, and I only have an inkling. So it's funny because I'm watching something that is supposedly supposed to happen. You guys are watching it, going, "No, this is what happens," and
yeah,
there was I loved everything about like specifically how I don't know. I didn't see from a viewer who's never read them. I didn't see Jessica so much as antagonistic, but almost like a different side of the same coin.
Okay.
Like in some senses, like yeah, you're right. Like she's doing exactly what you guys were saying she was doing. Of like, no, we need to do this. We need to make them believe. And Paul is very much on this side of like, no, that's insane. I'm not like you have lied to these people. And I thought that was so interesting how it is the thing of you keep denying something that has to happen now. Like it is on that path, and it was like everything he was doing to avoid it inevitably, like you said, with Chani, just led him further.
Yeah.
And I agree with you, Noah, on that tone, like that shift in tone that you mentioned, and it happens like throughout the movie. I felt, for me, when Jessica drinks the water of life, it felt very much like everything's sped up. Like it's gonna get more serious now. It's been kind of a slow burn, just kind of feeling everything. It's been 3 years since we've seen the last one, so like you're kind of getting reintroduced to some things, and then that happens, and you're like, bam, you're introduced to Fade, and you see more of the Baron, and
Austin Butler, man.
yeah, you see a lot
Dude,
of I can't wait till we can talk about him.
I
But
just
We're
like,
getting there.
we can get into that. I just want to, if we're gonna get into all that, I just want to take a minute to pat myself on the back for accurately calling
You
that they were
did.
going to introduce Fade using the Coliseum scene. When I
yes,
heard it in the book, when I like listened to that bit of the audiobook, I was like, this is going to be the intro. They're going to do this because it's like so perfect.
yeah,
And they did, and it was perfect, and I called it.
yeah, no, that is gonna be very exciting to talk about because dude, what a just a great job, fantastic job. But uh, yeah, I felt like there was a big tone shift with that, and again, I just really enjoyed the whole like I'm not doing this. Like I liked watching all the scenes of him talking to Stilgar. Stilgar, I think, is a huge
Stilgar
mention in
is
this as well.
that's the dude for
Uh,
life, bro. You sound like
He
I
was.
amazing performance. Like just completely had me mesmerized. I had completely forgot it was Javier Bardem almost. Where I was just like, this guy is completely sold. And yeah, he's kind of used as a comedic character in some senses. He was definitely like a comedic break for some of the scenes he had where like Paul would do something and then he'd go, that's exactly what Lisa and Al Gaib would do, and he'd be like,
Yeah.
no, you're not getting it, and he's
Yeah.
like, no, I know, like I'm certain.
Actually, dude, to me those
um
scenes were terrifying. Those scenes were
so
like truly terrifying for
okay,
me to watch someone because in Fremen culture, someone like Stilgar is highly revered. Stilgar is like
yeah,
a top dog, you know what I mean? Like everyone looks
people
up to
follow him.
him and it's like
Yeah,
Mhm.
he knows his shit. So for me to watch in the movie at least, for me to watch Stilgar just be like, "Oh, I mean obviously you've been bred and you've been told this was going to happen, so it's hard not to. But it shows how strong the Bene Gesserit are. And it shows like how because that's another thing with Frank Herbert, man. It's all about the dangers of religion, the dangers of imperialism, the dangers of a messiah. So to see someone like Stilgar
fanaticism, sorry.
in fanaticism, like fawn over Paul. Paul could have taken a shit in the desert and like just stomped it into the sand and made spice shit and go, well, this is what we eat now. And he'd be like, Lisa Magaib, he commands it. So like it was actually terrifying to see that because you see that in modern culture with things like Christianity or any other radical really religion. People are just so taken aback, taken to it and swept away. And I'm like, there were obviously I did laugh a few times with Stilgar, but there are times where I'm like,
No, but you
God
make a good
damn,
point.
you know.
Like looking back on it, yeah, no, absolutely, that's terrifying because of what happens throughout the movie. I
And he
mean,
is
he's
intelligent. That's the thing. Stilgar is so fucking smart, and it's like,
which I think is the point, right? He
yeah,
is so smart and he's so capable, and yet he falls to his knees whenever Paul does something that he has been taught over years and
I
years,
cannot
which is
wait.
because of Lady Jessica and the
Yes,
Bene Gesserit's fault.
Mhm.
So like it's that very interesting thing of like Paul thinks it's funny, or like he kind of also, I think, in some senses probably brushes it off like this is just
I
what he's
think he's
been taught.
terrified of it too.
But I think he's terrified of it until he starts to like it a little bit, and then
We'll get to there.
because he
Yep.
does form a
Well,
bond in some senses with the rest of the Fremen, right? I mean, and he's got to feel. I mean, Paul is kind of throughout the movies. I felt he kind of shows that like he likes people that think he's good at something. Like he
Yeah.
likes to be good at things, and I think that kind of helps. He wanted to assimilate into their culture pretty quickly once he met them. He was very interested in them, if I
he's
remember correctly
doing
from the first book.
he's doing the Jake Sully thing, which is
Yeah,
he's like coming in, he's like, I'm just here to learn your ways, no big deal. And then
yeah,
like something will happen. He's like, I'm in charge now, actually.
He's like,
So
I
here's
do
what's
this
going
better
on.
than
yeah.
you guys do this actually, and everyone's like, well, at least I'm not Gaib. Like every step of the
Yeah.
fucking way.
Like I
But
guess so.
I mean, dude, I mean, yeah, no, those scenes were dope. But like it's terrifying to me as well, though. I really liked the riding scene when he
Yeah.
finally calls upon the worm. I still, he's sitting there. Stilgar is like, oh yeah, they're all like making fun of Paul, right? They're all like, yeah, ha ha ha, whatever, whatever, whatever. And Paul's like, okay, because Jameis in his head and all that, like, got to go lower and this. And he goes lower, pounds the sand, gets the thumper in, and then there it is. And Jameis, Stilgar's like, oh, that's a big one. Oh shit! Like he's like, oh
Yeah.
fuck! Like I told you to get
Yeah.
one, not that fucking big. And it's like literally like Shia Halud at that point is like he's riding Shai Hulud. That's like the iconic thing right there, right? And that
And
was fucking dope.
that scene is the ultimate show don't tell.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because you see like the little flaps, and it's made clear that like that's how you get them to stay above the ground is you just hold the flaps up.
Yep.
But they could have like Stilgar could have like clumsily explained that before, but he didn't. That's just like a merit of the movies show don't tell.
Yes.
But that
We
scene
learned
was
that way.
incredible.
The
Yeah.
hooks, dude, looked so fucking good as well. Like how you extend them, and then they
Mhm.
have the grapple to them, so you just like hit a button and it flick. Because the Fremen are technologically advanced. Actually, if you look at the Fremen still suits, thumpers, the
Yeah.
hooks, like how they have their
Wind
sietches
traps.
set. Yes, like
Yeah, wind
all
traps.
of that. How they extract your water, and I will say, this movie did hit further on water discipline.
It did.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
It hit
really
so
did. I
much
loved
further.
that.
When they were extracting water and Lady Jessica was, because there's a scene where she fucking boulders a dude like in Braveheart, and that shit was dope. But like
That was cool.
she almost Ralphs, and
She does Ralph.
oh yeah, she does Ralph, and he's like,
And then
don't.
Stilgar's like, what is this fucking amateur hour over
Well, I like
here?
how he's like,
Yeah.
don't do it, like
He's
this,
like, keep that in.
keep that in. I was like, yeah, water discipline. Because like in the first one, he does that thing where he spits on Leto's desk or on the ground rather, and everyone, I already could tell if you were at the theater, people are like, I'm like, no, that's serious. That's a big thing. Respect.
Well, because I think so. Then this is probably what happened for you. You watched the first movie, and when Duncan Idaho says, "We thank you for your body's moisture," myself and everyone else who's never seen the movie laugh at that because that's a funny thing to say.
It's incredibly serious.
Your desk.
It's incredibly serious.
But
Yeah,
but
that's
yet you
like-
know that that's incredibly important. But to the rest of the audience, they don't understand that. And then now that you literally just said that, it connected with me of like that wasn't funny. That was meant to be truly like this is.
That was like,
because
this is how serious I think this is right now. Is I'm gonna give some moisture for this.
Because Arrakis
Right,
Which is a-
it's
cannot, if you are not literally a fucking Fremen. I'm gonna nail this really quick. If you are not a fucking Fremen and you don't have their technology, the still suit, anything, you don't know how to navigate the desert, especially the deep desert and the southern part of the desert, you're just fucking dead. You cannot. And there are also Fremen out there who are bad Fremen who will just kill you and rob you of your water.
yeah.
That's all they do. So like, water discipline is because Arrakis is the most dangerous planet in the universe, and the water discipline aspect is one of the most important things. And this movie, they didn't go super hard into it, but when they did talk about water discipline and they showed the sietch with the water in it, because that water is, we're gonna get to that right now, I think. But like, it's so that
More show don't tell, right?
their wells are
Yeah.
very important, and you dare not drink from them either. Like you can't, like
Yeah.
their supply, and they're, some of them are ritualistic, which we're gonna talk about in a minute. But like, I did like that. They're like, no, this is that, this is Fremen culture, and because the Fremen are very serious, and what they do is serious.
It's a harsh world.
It looked practical too when he pulled the flaps up.
Mhm.
It looked
Yeah.
fucking practical, and I was like, dude, did they have a whole set made for that?
Can,
I'm like,
can
did
we
they
say
breed
the
a
scales-
sandworm?
The
Child.
scales were huge,
Yeah,
right? Like,
and they looked
you're not-
gross. They looked
they
so
yeah, oh yeah,
gross.
they looked gross, but they were massive. Like, a lot of the imagery in the books, like the drawings that you guys have posted, or like the paintings, where it looks very smooth, right? And they're
Yeah.
all sort of like this specific pattern, if I remember correctly. And like with this, I mean, they're still in that sort of like pattern shape, but like they're broken up. They're not,
They're dry.
yeah, they're not smooth against each other. Like
Yeah.
there are breaks already, which is how the
Mhm.
hooks work. But like, they're not small ones where it's super accurate, but it's, clearly where it's like, obviously it's a challenge. It's not easy to do. It's incredibly difficult, but like they're huge. Like
Yeah.
I thought that was a really interesting thing. Again, really showing the scale of these worms, not just like, and yeah, I think you're probably right. They probably did have a whole set or some sort of mini set built.
fucking
where-
looked like it, dude.
They built a rig that
yeah.
the actors could be on
Oh, it's so
that would move in a somewhat unpredictable way.
Are you
So that
serious?
it would be organic for them. Yeah, this is just what I heard.
Just kick the shit out of everybody really quick on set.
It was like it was just like a back, like probably like a bull ride at a bar kind
Oh
of a
my,
thing.
yeah, everyone's just getting their ass
Yeah.
beat.
And it would just like they would have like a general idea probably, but they're like blowing sand at them,
Yeah.
and they wouldn't exactly know what was gonna happen. Um, and you really get that sense, like they really feels like they're actually on this creature.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, it looked miserable to be there too. It like to be
Oh
on a rat.
yeah,
It looks like fucking shit. Like I would not want to do.
It's cool from far away, but really scary up close.
Yeah.
If we want to,
Yeah, you don't want to be there. Uh,
yeah,
so you have that, right? So you have all these epic scenes. Then we get to the water life scene, and
Mhm.
the water and life induces a spice agony. And look it up. We don't have to get into spice agony and all that, but it helps
It's not a
awaken.
good time.
Yeah, it's not a good time. And they showed how the water life is made by drowning a baby sandworm and
yeah.
extracting its
It's
essence.
the bile of a drowned
You're
sandworm.
drinking sandworm piss. You're drinking sandworm pee. That's all you're drinking.
I
Mix it.
What a
I
prank.
remember
It's
in the
concentrated
theater.
spice. Yeah.
Yeah,
I remember in the theater when, because you see the entirety of a baby
Yeah.
sandworm. They just pick it up and she's carrying it around. And I leaned over to Nick and I was like, I don't know, baby sandworm's kind of cute.
It was adorable. That's all like.
and then she just fucking
drowns it, just kills it, because they're sacred to them too. The sandworms are also sacred to, so the enemy is killed with
very
respect.
ritualistic. The process, like
Yeah.
watching it, it's not like she's doing it as a fight for survival, right? She's literally like, I have done this before. Like,
Yep.
this is a great thing to me. It's not like
Yeah.
She's like I'm
doing it to fight.
she's like Charlie with the rats. It's like, how many rats have died by my hands?
Oh my fucking god, dude. But so like that happens, and that was awesome. Like I was really, I think I leaned over to you too. I'm like, they showed it, and you're like, I know.
I was like, whoa, can't believe it.
I didn't. That's one thing I thought they were gonna not gloss over, but I thought maybe that would have been a tell, don't show. I thought they were gonna be like,
I thought
okay,
they'd just say it.
yeah. So I thought they were gonna just kind of be like, this is how the water life is made, and blah 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 blah. This is what it does, and then Lady Jessica does it and goes into a fucking spice agony, which awakens Aaliyah, and that's a whole fucking thing in and of itself. Which Anya
Yeah.
Taylor Joy is Aaliyah.
Yes.
Noah and
I'm sure
yeah.
tons of people guessed that,
Yeah.
because what other role would there be for her?
There would be no other role for her. If someone said she was Lady Fenring, and I was like, no, that's Leia Saido. Like that's already
Yeah.
confirmed. Like you're a goofball. But that was awesome. And the siege looked huge in scale as well. And then you had the fucking
Yes.
bird. You had all this cool fucking shit. And it all gets ruined by
Mhm.
the Baron and all them. Because at this point, also, I should know, Raban is in charge of Arrakis.
He's doing a piss poor job.
He's doing a fucking.
It's not great.
He's doing a very bad job at literally being Arrakis's duke, and it's not good. It's the whole, because like in the books, it's total chaos, and like every time they're not able to harvest spice because Paul and the Fremen are constantly hitting, and that's happening right now throughout the entire story that we're telling you of the movie. But they're constantly hitting spice depots and they're destroying everything. And Raban is coming and going, I have shit. I don't have anything. I don't know. There's some Lisan Al Gaib, Muad'Dib guy coming around, and they don't know it's Paul. I think they do in the books.
They don't know.
They don't know who it is.
No, even in the books they didn't. I don't remember.
They think that Paul's dead. They don't
Gotcha,
know it's. They just know it's Muad'Dib, but they don't know that it's Paul. So it's all going to shit. So what's the Baron gonna do about this? Who's he gonna call? Who's he gonna call for something like this?
I'll let you guys definitely start off with talking about this. But yes, Evan.
I was gonna say Raban's scenes were pretty hilarious. I gotta say, pretty funny watching some guy disagree only to get punched in the throat and just insta killed.
That's like, Raban. That's the
slamming
beast.
His head on the desk.
Yeah, exactly.
He's the beast, bro. Harkonnen show no fucking love to anything, dude.
Part of that too. There have been a couple other characters that have showed up at this point as well. I don't know if you're fine with me mentioning them.
Yeah, absolutely. We're already fucking balls deep in worm territory.
Well past, spoilers.
Correct me if I'm wrong on these names. Princess Irulan.
Yep. Princess Irulan. Florence Pugh.
And Florence Pugh and the great Christopher Walken
as the Emperor.
Yeah. so we've kind of already seen a little bit of them, and we haven't seen Leia Seydoux at this point, but or maybe like one quick
No,
scene.
Well, we're
I don't remember.
introduced to her at the same time that we're introduced to Fade.
Fade. Because the Bene Gesserit
Yes.
are watching what's happening with
Which
Fade.
I don't remember if that was in the books, but like the way they introduce Fade is straight out of the books. It's a big coliseum. It's supposed to be a setup fight, but where they poison these guys so that they won't be much of a challenge. But they didn't poison one, and he like nearly kills. He nearly gets the better of Fade.
Which is awesome, because Fade pisses me off.
Yeah,
That
and
was
then
just terrifying.
basically it leads up to Leia Seydoux's character, the Lady Fenring, doing the Gom Jabbar on Fade, which I don't remember if that was in the books, but I didn't see that coming, and I was like, whoa.
I don't recall either, but I do like the fact that Fenring used sex against Fade. Like,
Yeah.
immediately, because that is shit that Frank Herbert uses a lot
I mean,
in books.
That bit like leads into a whole thing with the Kwisatz Haderach
Yeah.
idea, where they want to create the Kwisatz Haderach, but they need it to be somebody who they think they can control.
Yeah.
And they tested it on Paul. They did the Gom Jabbar, and they're like, okay, he could be it, but we wouldn't be able to control him
And
if
she
it was
wasn't.
him.
And Lady Jessica was not supposed to fucking do that.
Yeah.
That was against what she was told.
But with Fade, they felt like they were like, we could probably
He's
control
an
him.
idiot.
So
yeah.
The I wanted to bring up the Spice Harvester like scenes as well. The attacks. Again, great effects. Like everything felt.
Oh yeah.
Watching the knife fights was great, and then obviously there's that whole scene with Chani and Paul against one of the ornithopters, which I thought was really cool.
Oh, coming in between the legs and like, all right,
Well, there's that. There's part of that, and then there's when they're running across, and like Paul senses or sees one of the like he has this sixth sense of to turn around and look at something, and he sees like a Sardaukar approaching Chani.
Yeah.
And like the funny thing about that too is that Stilgar sees that, I think, or he sees something similar that he does, and it further reinforces that belief in him.
Yeah, the lease on
But then that scene itself was just really cool, especially the missile slow going into the ornithopter, and you're watching the gunner like look at it. He's like,
that is
oh,
shit. That is probably the best effect in these movies. It happens in the first one where like a bomb comes down, gets in the shield, and the explosion happens within the shield until the shield can't contain it anymore. That is probably, I think, the coolest like effect that I've ever seen in a movie.
Yes,
the sound design on that effect as well, because in the theater when those things happen, and when a worm is there, and when the shield is when shields are being fucking attacked, or this is happening, and it's loud, your seat shakes in IMAX or EMAX, whatever. Like I was like, whoa, worm! And it's like rumbling my seat. I was like, this is awesome. But
we should go see it in 4DX. That way it actually moves with the worm.
They don't do D-Box anymore.
Boo, dude.
4DX does the, or no, that wouldn't be fun. That does like the smells.
I don't want to smell anything.
I think 4DX does like wind, like it does like if
you're in a fast
car. It's very specific theaters. It's probably not here in Michigan.
I'll say as long as it pumps out like cinnamon. You could hit me with like some cinnamon smell. That's what spice is supposed to smell like. It's supposed to smell like cinnamon.
You smell it through any scene in the desert, like the entire time.
Oh, we're in the desert. Cinnamon. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that'd be pretty cool.
No, please. Oh, you were still going. I'm sorry, Evan.
No. I was agreeing with Noah that scene with the explosion when it goes inside the shield and like spreads around it is just so sick. And that's just how I felt watching this, like the second movie of like, man, I wouldn't know this is visual effects. Like this looks exactly like they built all this like as a mini or something and actually did this stuff. Like it was so impressive. But yeah, we were talking about Fade and Lady Fenring, and specifically the Coliseum scene.
Yeah,
and also can we talk about him, like the intro? Like
who Fade
is so perfect.
Oh,
man.
He's with the slaves. When he's with the slaves and they bring him the knife, and he's like, cool knife. And there's like a slave girl sitting next to him. And he's just like,
oh, it'll do.
Pretty sharp. And
They
he just
stabs
starts like
another.
just stabbing everybody.
That's
Well,
from
the
the
other
books.
one is sitting there terrified, like she's shaking. She can't hold anything
I
because
think that's
she's
like,
just yeah.
I think that's an entire couple pages in the book too, if I'm not mistaken. Him just like,
Wow.
like just like killing slaves.
They
He's
have
like
like the
sharpen the tip
three.
of this one.
Yeah.
They have like the three other girls or whatever that are there too that have like the messed up jagged teeth and the black
Yeah.
eyes.
Also, really
Those are
quick
like
before we
his harem or something. I don't know what
Some
before
his pets.
before Noah
pets.
continues on with Fade, they touched a little bit on the Baron and his psyche when it comes to sexuality. In the books, it's very much
Yes.
expressed that the Baron has no
Yeah.
boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
In the movie, they do portray younger, they're not kids necessarily, but they portray younger people.
It's hard to tell. It's hard to
They look
tell with
like
these,
little
but I
like
think it's
teenagers.
intentionally ambiguous.
Yeah, but
Yes, it
I
is.
know
I
though
guarantee
that
it.
like, hey, yeah, the Baron was just doing nasty shit because the Baron also wants to fuck Fate. It's the whole hullabaloo.
Yeah, he gives him a little smooch.
Yeah. Oh man, I think we should make that a
Double.
T-shirt.
Oh,
WASD.
dude.
We should
Absolutely.
we should make it a WASD T-shirt. Yeah, we'll go on with the
I would get
Coliseum.
this. I would pay
But
good
it was-
money for this shirt.
The Coliseum thing is like it's pretty simple. It's like a fight. He does it. He wins, and then he goes to the Baron after, and he's like, "You try to kill me out there." And that was like making me think that like Fate is maybe not the best fighter.
Yeah.
Because like maybe he's only able to win so easily because they're always drugged.
He is very dangerous though. Fate is very dangerous because of his emotions and like how violent he can get.
Yeah.
Yeah, I read into that more of a well because the Baron says happy birthday.
Yeah.
Like
Mhm.
also touching on the Coliseum, the fight scene a little bit. Can we talk about Austin Butler drooling on the knife that was like inches away from his face?
It was so good.
Like,
He
when he's getting
was
pulled down and
amazing.
he like literally watching it just drip down like into
Oh,
the sand or whatever. It was like I
So
noticed that and
good.
I was like, okay, that is
You know
something
they
crazy.
they shot that whole sequence in infrared. That's why
Yeah.
it looks that way.
I did want to talk about how it was shot and how it looks because they're on Getty Prime at that point, and it is just devoid of any fucking light. It's like monochromatic, and I loved every second of that. People were
It
bitching
was
about
so
it.
good.
People were saying like,
No,
"Oh,
it looks
it
great.
was ridiculous." And I'm like, "No, they're showing you the stark difference between Caladan, Arrakis, Getty Prime, and then fuck, where is Emperor Shaddam, and Aurelion from? Fucking
Is that
Titan.
I just was
yes, thank you. And they're showing all the stark differences here, and like you could tell, like Getty Prime and the Harkonnen are just on like a shithole of a planet. It's just they live with the gross, and that was really good. And like even Fade's party, you know, he'd give two fucks about that. And then you know, like the whole the hallway scene too, when the thunder is hitting.
Mm-hmm.
I was like,
yeah.
God damn, dude! Like all of that was just so brilliant to me. Like it's
Well,
just so brilliant.
it hit too because you realize that it's not shot in black and white because they wanted it to look that way. It's because that's just how the planet will look because the sun is black or whatever, the
Yes,
star is black. So also the fireworks were really cool that they had
yes, they
for
were.
Yeah, they were
celebration.
like
I really liked that.
it was like inky
Yeah,
explosions.
Yeah, it's like you
yeah, that's a
squeeze an
good.
octopus, bro.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what it looked like. That was pretty, especially because of the no color. It was very
Mm-hmm.
much like it was all this black, yeah, like ink looking stuff. No, I thought that was cool. I thought all the scenes on Getty Prime were pretty impressive, both just again in scale, like the wide shot of the Coliseum when you're looking down, and you just see
Mm-hmm.
that's another shot that's like that in the movie, of just all those dots, those heads,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So yeah, that was another really fulfilling thing to see. Of like, man, like they went all out with this.
Yeah. That part combined with Paul taking the water of life, I think was the second like turning point of
Yep.
this movie.
Yes.
Where like I was saying before, like Paul is just denying this prophecy thing until he feels like he can't do it anymore, and then he takes the water of life. And from that point, like my personal theory has always been that Kwisatz Haderach and Paul are two separate beings,
Right.
and it sort of lives within him. And when he takes the water of life, he's not Paul anymore. He's the Kwisatz Haderach. Because in this one, you hear a lot. In the first movie, you hear like when he's having a vision, you hear a voice that says like, "In order for Kwisatz Haderach to rise, Paul Atreides must die."
Yep.
Yeah.
And that like I really got that feeling from this because as soon as he takes the water of life, he comes back. He's like, all right, I know what we're doing.
Yeah,
And he
fuck you
goes,
all.
and when they all go to the south, and they have that big meeting, and he comes in,
Ooh.
and he's
Oh
just
my gosh.
screaming at everybody. That is the best scene in the whole movie.
Dude,
Give him an Oscar. That was
yes.
That was incredible.
incredible.
That whole scene in the Sietch
So
was
good.
so fucking good. But before we need to talk about that. But to talk about, you know, for Kwisatz Haderach to rise, Paul Atreides must die. That's explained too in the first movie because he kills Jameis.
Yeah.
And they say when you kill a man, you as well die.
Mm-hmm.
And when he killed Jameis, that's when the Kwisatz, you know, it's starting to like come to life, and it's like, oh shit, you're like, okay, so this is what I am. And then exactly, the water of life hits, he dies. Chani comes, revives him because Lady Jessica's like, no, you wake him the fuck up. And she's like, pfft. And then she does it, and it's like, oh fuck, it's a whole different Paul at that point. It's a whole different ball game with Paul, and I loved that.
It sort of felt like Paul was in there, but he was not in control.
Yeah.
And there's like parts at the very end. The ending of the movie feels like it happened so fast.
Yes.
And so many things happen at once. But after he takes the water of life, he's all like, he's so powered up, and he's like, here's what we're gonna do. We're taking it. We're taking the fight to them.
Yeah.
And they do that. They mount like a full scale assault on the Emperor's forces in Arakeen.
Yeah. Because at this point, yeah,
And
the Emperor Shaddam, his daughter, Princess Aurelian, the Baron Harkonnen, Fade, Raban has been stripped of his duties, basically. Go fuck off. Fade is now in charge. Yada, yada, yada. All this shit.
there as well.
Sardaukar, they're all on Arrakis. They're at Arakeen, which is like the capital. And Paul is basically like, no, get the fuck up. Like, I know that your grandma did this time, and this is how you felt, and this is... Like, he's using prescience at that point. Everyone's like, oh my fucking god. Like, yeah, it is true because we made it fucking true, right? So, yeah,
he refuses to kill Stilgar. Like, that's a traditional thing too, right?
And he wouldn't do it.
He doesn't...
There's no way.
That's actually...
Was that after he had
kind
prescience?
Yeah, it was after. I mean, he did it a few times, but that sort of mirrors something that Leto does in the first movie, where after Paul grabs the Hunter Seeker.
Yep.
And Thufir's like, I've failed. Like, I'm resigning. Like, I'm like, my honor demands that I quit.
Yeah.
And Leto's like, you would deprive me of your talent right now.
Yeah.
And it's sort of the same thing that Paul does. He's like, why would I do that? That's ridiculous.
Didn't even think about that. Wow,
Paul uses a lot of his father's teaching, even after he becomes Kwisatz Haderach. He uses a lot of what Leto taught him. And he weaponizes it, though. That's what becomes the problem. Is he
desert power?
It's desert power. He weaponizes it, and he has the Fremen because they're more exploited in the book. Like, they are way more.
They really felt like they were on board in this one.
Yeah, they felt like they were on board in the movie, but in the books they are like exploited by Paul. And no, when they're on the worms, dude, going to Arakeen, I was like, whoa! I was like, God,
it's like you're in trouble now.
But what were you gonna say?
Oh, I was gonna say Gurney Halleck's here, and
Gurney is back. Yes,
he knows the coordinates to atomics. You know, just casually, like, hey,
and he's playing the Balisat.
Nukes are.
I see you're on a main quest. Check these chords out. It's like, that's
the Balisat though. Objective.
The Balisat. When he's playing that, I was like, they finally showed it. They finally fucking did it. Because it was supposed to be in the first movie. They're like, no. And they put it in this one. I was like, okay, fine. He wrote a song about piss in his still suit. This I will accept. This is fine. I like this.
I thought it was so great when Paul finds him and he says the lines like, I recognize your footsteps.
Young pup and all that, yeah.
Yeah,
Dude,
that
I
was
was-
so
Old
good.
man.
Yeah, I was so fucking pumped. And again, to go back to the books,
I'm like, what the fuck? Am I about to cry in the Dune movie right now?
I could. There was plenty of times I almost did, dude. I was this close. Um, it's discovered that Lady Jessica is of Harkonnen descendants, and that the Baron is her father.
Yep.
Yeah.
Gurney already knew that, so in the book he was like, "I need to fucking get you got," and it's like basically like, "No, but I'm also hard." It's a whole in the book. It's way more like in depth, but in this, like when they go into like them being like Harkonnen, and it's like it hits the audience if you don't know it. It's like, holy shit, what do you mean? Like, how could
did.
that be? Like I looked around when they said like, you know, we're Harkonnen, and it's like people were like, what the fuck do you mean they're Harkonnen? Like how? I was like, yeah, desert power. That's sweet.
My whole thing is like, this feels incestuous,
Yeah.
That's
and it is
Yeah.
because in the book, because I started re-listening to the audiobook too. I think it was a different recording, and literally like within the first chapters, the Bene Gesserits say that they breed within the bloodline
yes.
to try to extend it.
Yep. If it needs to
And
be
this
extended,
is sort
they will.
of that. Yeah.
It's fucked up, man. It's there's so much. Frank Hurt, man, he did a lot
there's
of.
so much, man. This guy had issues. That's for damn sure.
But he loved. The thing is, just he loved women.
Mm-hmm.
He loved a
Bit
strong
too
woman.
much.
Like he that was like his thing. Like he loved strong women because I see people. This is a sidebar, but I see people really like hitting on the whole white savior narrative of the movie, which it is. It is not a white savior film. This is these films are very much you. It's talking against that type of shit. People are saying it's sexist. It is not. The women in this,
No.
the women in these stories are the most powerful things in the story. It's the most powerful people. The Bene Gesserit is the
Next to the guild navigators.
We'll get man.
We can't get to that.
We
They don't
we,
see
we
them.
explained it to Evan about like what they are,
Yeah.
What? Yeah.
and Evan was like, "What?" I was like,
Oh,
"Yeah,
It's basically a person who takes so much spice that they turn into Jabba the Hutt.
yeah." They're just in like this little fishbowl thing, and they in the David Lynch film, you got those dudes vacuuming under.
It's so great. They're vacuuming up the goop like a big slug.
Oh,
Just scooting along.
It's just like it was like you were telling me that, and I'm like, this is not the same Dune that I've seen. Like, there's no way that I
dude,
like what
you
I've
got,
watched is
I'm
this.
telling you, bro, you gotta read
I'll
the books.
read them.
You have to at least
I do want to
listen.
read them.
Listen,
I just can't listen to the audiobooks during the day because I'm on the phone, so I don't want to,
you can
stop and all that
can
stuff.
stop. Children, I have all my Dune books right here. I was trying. It's not. I have all them.
I need the
right-
first one, bro. You gave me like the last two. You're like, start here. I'm like, no, I gotta. I gotta
Well,
go
I
to the
don't even.
beginning.
Oh man, my big ass copies are there. This movie, wow, man, and the ending was phenomenal as well. There was a few fucking things that they did in the end. I didn't necessarily agree. There's a few things I didn't agree with to begin with, but I also understand it. The ending is Fade and Paul fighting.
They have a bit of a duel.
That was
After
Well, that would have been Canley as well, right? Canley was So
Yeah.
that Canley is. It's a duel. Like you have.
It's basically
yeah.
like it's you and me, but you don't have to fight. So he challenges the Emperor, and he says, "Stand or pick your champion."
Yes.
It's the same thing that happened with
Jameis.
Jameis and Jessica, because he challenges her. She would have wiped the floor with him, but
She
she
would have
knew
ripped
that
his
Paul
fucking
had
head
to do
off.
it.
She would have ripped his head off. Yeah, she knew Paul
But
would do it.
it's the same thing. It's stand or pick someone else, and Fade is like,
Obvious, yeah.
I'll do it. I'm here.
Which that voice, that line in the movie when may thy knife chip and shatter, and then Fade's like, may thy knife chip and shatter, and I was like,
Yeah, he was like, okay, whatever.
Yeah, he
He's
was like,
both, like he's
Sure,
both, like,
dude.
mocking it. He's like mocking it, but he's also like that goes pretty hard. Like I'm gonna take that
he
when I
li-
kill you.
he does Paul's like, may that knife chip and shatter, and he's like, if it is to be said, then so it be.
So it is.
Fade did a bit of a sure, dude. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
He's like,
whatever,
okay,
dude,
bro.
you got it.
Oh, cool.
So
Nice
they
little
have a
hymn.
bit of a fight, and Paul it's seemingly Paul nearly loses, but he
But he
eventually
knew that.
he
He did what
that's the whole
Gurney
thing.
did.
He was saying exactly.
Yep.
He took a hit because it would make Fade think that he had him on the back foot, and then he would just get him.
Yep. Like,
Exactly
And he
what
did like
did.
that. I honestly, my jaw hit the floor.
we were
when
freaking
that
out.
happened. I was like, they are not gonna kill Paul right now.
No, if they would have done that,
No.
if they would have killed him right there, I would have been like, they're not going to do Messiah.
Yeah,
There's no
They
point.
couldn't have done Messiah at that point. But like, yeah, he did exactly what Gurney did to him. He's like, hey man, check below because you're going down too. And I was like, wow, that's a great callback to when that happened in the first movie. And that ending scene as well. You have a bit of a dialogue between him and Chani, where it's like,
Mhm.
just know, whatever happens here, like you're the one I love, even after he's
Yeah.
like awake, because Paul is still there. Like the thing is, like he just has to go on this journey, and it's fucked, and he knows it's fucked, and he hates every second of it, but you can't stop it once the ball's rolling. So he literally looks at her and goes, I love you no matter what, basically, and nothing's going to change that. You're my person. He defeats Fade, and Paul is the emperor at that point. That is what happened. Paul is the emperor, and he goes, your daughter's mine.
He basically is like, in order for me to be the emperor, I have to marry your daughter. And it really felt like right before that, he turns to Chani and he's like, listen, I do love you.
Yeah,
but you are not gonna like what I'm about to do here.
that's exactly what happened. It's like, this
He's
is
like,
about
I
to be
need
some
you to
fuck shit.
understand, but you are not gonna like this.
And
And then when she leaves, he really like, I got that like idea that he's like, yeah, I kind of thought she was gonna leave.
she'll be back.
This is like, this sucks. But in the books,
he says, I've seen it. He says she will come to understand. I have seen it.
And she's pregnant right now too.
Yeah.
mhm.
That's what I'm
like,
thinking.
I mean, you
I'm
guys
thinking
said
I'm
he has
thinking.
prescience, right?
Well, I'm thinking
the
she's
book-
pregnant.
Ahead.
In the
Yeah,
book,
probably.
Jessica explains it to her. She's like, no matter what happens, like history will remember us as the wives,
The
the ones who
his,
actually like did it.
Oh my god, what are they called? Basically a Gumar. Like
The mistress.
no, not mistress. There's a
Concubine?
specific concubine.
A
History
concubine,
history
yeah,
will
that's a
remember the
better term.
concubine. They're not going to remember the princess that he fucking married.
Mhm.
They're going to remember
Right.
us, right? So like, but like in the books too, Lady Jessica's like, how could you ever think that you could be with Paul?
Yeah,
Like that's how Lady Jessica is to
like it was
Chani.
never gonna work.
That's what Lady Jessica tells Chani. Like, this isn't gonna work. Like, how do you think
Yeah.
this is gonna work? He needs to be
But-
with somebody of power.
But this version of Chani is not stoked on that
No.
idea. So in the ending moments of this movie, we get a little montage of the things that are happening. Like the Fremen are gonna go fight the
Lead them
other
to paradise.
houses, and Chani is just like, she's just gonna fuck off and do whatever. And I thought, like, at first I was like, oh, I hate this, but thinking on it, it's like, it makes sense. And I think part of the next movie will be Paul searching for Chani to try to like make things better, but I feel like it might not work.
So,
It depends on how long of a jump they do, right? I mean,
well, it's 12
Yeah.
years, 12-year gap.
so yeah,
So
depends on how long.
So at that point, would the twins have already been there? Yeah, they'd be there in Messiah.
Right, they would be there.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Aaliyah would be 14
Mm-hmm.
at that point. So Aaliyah would be 14 in Messiah. There's
Yeah.
a whole so that's Dune Part 2, everybody. So there you go. That's our synopsis of the film and what we've loved. But I do, before we do end the episode, I do want to go through all three of us. Just say how much we love the film and give it a rating. Like your favorite
Okay.
parts and everything. We have time. So Noah, you are going first again.
Okay, I'll go first.
You're like, okay.
I think these two movies have been probably the best movie going experience that I've certainly ever experienced. I think these ones, the visuals, the acting, and the music have all been like best in class. Like nobody else does it better than Denis Villeneuve on these. It's a 10 out of 10 for me for both, and for part two, just I don't know. Everything wasn't exactly the way I thought it would be, but some things were better. Some things were maybe not the way I would have preferred it, but they were still so good. Everything they did was so perfect and very cohesive, and you could just feel that Denis doesn't want this to end.
Yeah.
Like, he wants to just keep going. Like, he doesn't want to be done with this world just yet. And I think the third one is where we're going to see him wrap it up and just walk away from it. So 10 out of 10 for me, for sure.
Fuck yeah. Mr. Evan?
I'll start off with my actual rating first, and then talk about why I'm giving it that. It's a 10 out of 10. There is no bad note I could say about this movie. Like,
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with it. I don't have a problem with the time that it, like the length of it, because it used every minute like the way Fremen use water. Like,
Fuck,
it was.
that's a good fucking quote, bro.
That's a quote for the box.
I was
right
gonna say,
there.
that's on
God
the box
damn,
right
bro. Put
there.
that on
That's
the
going on the
poster.
poster. Yeah,
Yeah,
dude.
You're gonna have to
right?
revise the poster we made, Noah, or you made.
Yeah, man,
Fucking
I'm gonna
A.
have to fix that.
No, like, I'm serious. Like, it used every minute so well, and yes, the visuals are best in class. I got that from the first movie. Rewatching it recently, I was like, okay, nothing beats this. Like,
Yeah.
seriously, no CGI of anything else I've ever seen can top this. And two somehow topped it. It kept going. It was like, no, there's a scene where the Emperor's ship is flying over Arakeen, and you're seeing the reflection of the city in it, because it's like
Oh, it's
this,
so good.
Yeah.
So
glass.
good.
So it was just incredible seeing things like that, and the way that it builds tension with the score. And Hans Zimmer, of course, never fails.
They said
But
he
I
never
got
left Arrakis. Basically, they said that he, after the first movie wrapped up, he was still writing for Dune Part 2. And they're like, dude,
it
you
was
gotta take a break.
it was incredible. The acting is, honestly, I gotta say, it is probably the best acting I've seen in a movie in a long time, probably ever.
Yeah.
Like, I loved Oppenheimer, but like, Timothy Chalamet does something in this movie where it's like, okay, like, it's this character's story, but it's like seeing three characters. You're seeing Paul with the Kwisatz Haderach, and then you're seeing the Kwisatz Haderach. You're seeing Muad'Dib. Like, you're seeing all these different, like, pieces that he builds to make Paul this living, breathing person.
Yeah.
I mean,
Oostel,
from
baby.
yeah, right, from his
The strength of the base of the pillar.
yeah, dude. Awesome scene. Again, like, his little moments with Chani, all the way to when he looks at the Fremen and says, "Long live the fighters."
Yeah,
To the
fuck yeah.
front, and then you go from that to him talking to his, Lady Jessica, and then you go from that to him telling the other Bene Gesserit to silence using the voice.
Yeah.
Dude.
Like that, when
The
that
Reverend
happened,
Mother as well, by the way, at that
the
point.
yeah, the Reverend Mother, thank you. Yeah, like, when that happened, I looked at Noah and I was like, holy shit. I'm like, that was incredible. And then you have all the other actors, right? Christopher Walken, Florence Pugh, like, everybody just brought their A game.
Mhm.
Yeah, like, no bad notes about this movie. Everything, the story was great. I found it, if anything, it was easier to get into in the second one. There's a lot more action. But, like, I think you understand that now if you go back and watch Dune Part 1, of like, it's Part 1. So this is setting up
You
everything.
have to sort
So,
of explain it to
Yeah.
you.
yeah, exactly. I think 2 had so many more interesting scenes going on, right? Like, there's a lot in Dune Part 1 that's very, interesting if you're captivated
The
by it right
building
away.
blocks of it all. Yeah.
The building blocks of it are all there, but 2 has all these different things. You have the Colosseum fight, you have the meetings with the Reverend Mother and the princess and the Emperor, and you have, obviously Paul and Chani and the Fremen, all the way to Raban and all that sort of stuff. So you kind of have this full universe, so to speak. Like, you're seeing a lot of things play out, and no, like, seriously, no notes. It is my movie of the year, and it is March 7th. Like, there is no other movie that's coming out this year
It's
that's
not
gonna top
possible.
that movie. I want to go see it again. I was gonna text you guys earlier and go, all right, so when are we doing this? Because, like,
We need to
Yeah.
figure it out.
like, it's too good. No, absolutely. Like, 10 out of 10. No notes, no bad notes. Everything was good.
So with Part 1, that very much was a movie I loved. I gave that a 10 out of 10 too, reluctantly, because it's an unfinished movie. Part 2 came out and finished it. And to me, it feels like the unfilmable has finally been filmed. Dune has been a movie that's been called unfilmable since the David Lynch movie came out. This is a franchise where people are like, you can't make it. Not possible. You're never gonna make it right. It's too big. It's too much, right? Like you look at a story like Lord of the Rings, and that's a lot. That's a fucking lot. But when you dive into Doom, there's something different, and it feels alive. Like Arrakis and all these people who are living within Arrakis feel living and breathing right when you're reading the pages. And the lore that you are given is so rich. That's why people are like, this is not possible. Plus, it goes crazy. Dune goes fucking ballistic in a blink of an eye. It goes ballistic. Hence, why it was called unfilmable. It's been done though. Part 1 and 2 prove that it can be done and has been done. Messiah has a lot of shoe to fucking fill, but man, this movie, from the score, the art design, the actors, the actresses, like how the movie was shot, just every set piece was just grand. The scope is so massive and just grand, and it's hard when you're at the theaters to walk out of Arrakis, because when you're there, you're very much so on Arrakis. Like it does a very good job of that. This movie is a masterpiece of film, and I'm glad that I am old enough to eventually do what. I'm not comparing it to Star Wars because George Lucas stole things from Star Wars, from Dune to make Star Wars, but we're not gonna go there. I am glad that when Landon is older, though, I can show him these two movies and hopefully Messiah and be like,
Yeah.
check this out.
This could
bro.
be his Star Wars.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean,
I
for
hope
a
it
lot
doesn't
of us,
kick off
it's
the Dune cinematic universe. I really hope it doesn't do that.
yeah.
Well, we
I
are
hope
getting a
not.
Benny Gesserit show on HBO.
But that's
Is that
I trust
It's confirmed.
HBO,
It's coming
if that
out at the
makes
end of this
sense.
year.
Okay.
Yep.
I trust them.
I I would say that this is like our generation's Empire Strikes Back. Like this is the thing that,
Abso-fucking-lutely
like,
it
I
is.
mean, especially you think about like the fact that it's what 4 years after COVID and people thought there would never be movie theaters again. And then now
Dune has made $200
you've
million.
you've had Barbie, Oppenheimer, and Dune Part 2 within a year. Like
Fucked up.
that
Pretty
is
crazy.
pretty crazy.
Cinema is back, and again, it's made the money back, so it's made 200 million as of now.
It made the same, I think, like maybe $500,000 less than Oppenheimer did for its opening weekend. It's going to break $1 billion. I'm convinced. Like
Dune Part 2 will
this thing is,
it's too big not to at this point. But
yeah, it is so good.
so everything is there to make this movie a masterpiece. There are a few changes, like I said, with Aaliyah the Knife. I don't know how we're gonna get that name now, right? Like, I don't think they're gonna have to call her Aaliyah the Knife, but they're gonna have to figure out a different way. With Chani, and there's certain things that happen, but again, it makes the movie palatable for audience, and I think that the changes are necessary. And I think if he wants to go crazy, he can do that in Messiah, because now he's built up that rapport with audience to go, okay, are you ready to really strap into Dune though? Because this Messiah is where it kicks off. Messiah is where it fucking goes wiggity wiggity, and you're on your ass going, what do you mean? What's a fucking face dancer? Right? Like,
Yeah.
like what do you mean the Twi'lexu? And like the fucking Landsrad is like going insane, and I'm excited to see what he does next. This man obviously can do no wrong. The last couple movies of his have been masterpieces, and I'm here for Messiah. This movie again is a masterpiece. If you haven't seen this movie in theaters, I fucking very much so recommend you go do. This is not to be missed in theaters, at least on a big screen. I would say go see it in IMAX. If you can't though, go see it on the big screen. You need to feel the fucking worms going through you at that point.
If
That sounds
for
bad.
no other reason than to just really be able to shut out the distractions and really just lock in and watch this, go to a theater and
Yes.
see it. Because I like this really the way it was meant to be seen.
Yeah.
Nick, you had to go to the bathroom to take a pill for your ear because of the worms. Like,
Yeah,
because
so
the score was so strong.
I'm getting
Like,
through my search.
No,
it's
like not
it's,
a good thing, but like you're like that's what you're getting.
I like looked
That's
because Noah called me out to Evan, I think, because I had to pee.
Yeah.
I've been drinking.
The first time he leaned over, he goes, "That's one."
Yeah.
And then you left the second time.
I wasn't happy about it. I was my legs were doing this, and then it got to a scene where I looked at the scene and I'm like, This is in the book. I know what's about to happen. And I fucking shot out the theater, man.
Yeah, you came back pretty fast, but that
I,
makes
I
sense because
forced
you
that.
just
I was like,
Yeah.
holding it. I was like, go, 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 go. And then the worms hit, and I waited till after the fucking worm ride scene was done when they were kind of traveling to the CH. And I was like, I have to go to the bathroom, dude. My ear hurts like a motherfucker. And I had a pain reliever in my pocket just in case. I was carrying him around for a while, anyways. But I'd already been drinking at that point, so I was like, well, we're going on a ride now. So I fucking took that and I did that, and I fucking sat and I was like, no more pain, and the alcohol accelerated that, but
There you
um,
go.
I was able to hold it the rest of the movie, and we're fine, we're fine. But yeah, I did pee during Dune 2, so that's good, Nick. Now I have to go see it again.
It is long. It's two
Yeah,
hours and
hey, you gave
45
yourself
minutes
a
or
reason.
something,
Yeah, 2:45,
Yeah, 2
something
hours
like that.
45. Yeah,
which I think is a good amount of time.
I thought it was great.
Yeah,
I don't know that this could have been condensed.
no, I think
No.
he could have made it
like
longer.
a handful. There's like a handful of
wish.
seconds in this movie that could have been cut, but I'm glad that everything felt very intentional.
Yes, everything did
Yes.
feel very
So.
fucking intentional. But that's Dune on this podcast. It's a masterpiece. The movie's a masterpiece. Go see it. Before we sign off, do either of you have anything you want to plug? Noah, thank you again. Noah has created the art for this, episode. I would say series, but well, we could do a Dune series. Nah, because I don't want to
do it.
We could.
That's sort of riding the deep dives.
Yeah, no.
But I haven't read the rest of the books.
If you like this episode and you want more Dune, go listen to LPN's deep dive on Dune.
Yeah.
Like the way that Holden McNeely and Henry Zabrowski are able to really, because Henry's like the brain of that show, and Holden understands too. But listen to them if you want more Dune talk. Yeah, Noah created the art, the poster for this, and I'm very excited to get a physical one. So stoked.
If you like it, maybe
Yeah,
find some way to get in touch. You could probably get one.
Noah,
Can I get the?
There you go.
Can I get the kiss one? Can I get that one?
Yeah, you can get the kiss
I'll-
one.
I'll post that
I'll
on-
post that.
I'll post that
That's
on
the
Twitter
one
tonight.
that Brooke helped me out. She made that one.
Yeah,
That was
Brooke
good.
rules.
Yeah.
So do you want to plug your page then, Noah?
My Instagram's sort of in flux at the moment. I'm sure whatever it is will be linked somewhere.
It already is, yeah.
I want to change the name. TLDR. I want to change the name. I'm not so sure.
Okay.
I don't know. It's sort of in flux right now, but I'm making stuff here and there. Sometimes for this show, sometimes for other stuff. Just for shits and gigs.
Yeah.
Yeah, check it out.
His link, all of Noah's stuff that he does is in the links of every episode actually since the beginning of time for the show. So check Noah's stuff out there. Evan, do you have anything you want to plug?
I just wanted to plug the Spawn Camp Discord to join the community. I don't remember if that was said at the beginning, but I just was gonna say anyway. Like, you should definitely join in there and hang out with us and play some Helldivers or whatever, and or any other games, or listen to D&D or any of the other myriad of things we do in there. As I am a member of the community, and I'd like to promote that because I enjoy everybody in there. And then I guess if you want to listen to another podcast that I'm on, where I just talk about like more esports related stuff and more competitive sides of games, you can listen to the Lab Notes podcast from Play Labs. So yeah, it's just like, I think it's just under our Spotify as Lab Notes. So if you want to listen to any of that stuff, we talked about like Helldivers, and I think the last time we talked was about the Xbox stuff, about their bringing some games to PlayStation and whatnot, and how that was like entirely overblown.
Yeah,
but
you guys are probably a lot more kind than we were on this podcast. I got it. I said some
Big Neil's got respect.
I was gonna say, if it makes you feel any better, I didn't want to be.
Oh, I was like, pretty heinous on the show.
I was clenching his fist the whole time.
I was sitting there shaking. I was like, come on, let me at him. Let me talk.
He was doing the Arthur meme.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually wore the sweater just for that occasion.
Oh my fucking god. So yeah, please check out Play Labs and Play Notes, or Lab Notes, Play Notes, Lab Notes. Check out Lab Notes.
You're fine.
That link will also be in the description. And while you're at it, please check out the Spawn Camp community, like Evan said. The Discord is free. It always will be free. There's no paywalls. Come play games with us. Do D&D. Talk Dune with me and Noah and Evan now. Check out Roll for Deception. That is Spawn Camp's and Brody and Nick's D&D show. And Evan is a part of both campaigns at this point. So check out Roll for Deception. Obviously, check out WASD and Beyond. Check out Final Boss and Doc Longy, the sponsors of the show. And that's it. Take it easy, guys. Fucking enjoy the spice melange. The spice must flow.
The spice.
The spice.